Let's bring in Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, you voted against it. You just heard Tim Ryan very emphatically and emotionally say it's a wish list for working people. What are your objections to the bill?
Well, I voted on a lot of bad bills in the last 3 years. I would say that this is probably the worst. It is absolutely not a coronavirus bill. It was more like progressive Mad Libs, where every member of the squad got to just fill in the blank for their pet program. So put aside the cost, which would make it the costliest bill ever in the history of the House of Representatives. But just to name a few of the bill's most egregious provisions, it would give illegal immigrants stimulus checks. It would mandate a blanket release for certain federal prisoners. It would impose broad federal mandates on employers to deal with COVID-19. And, oh, by the way, had a massive tax break for millionaires by repealing the SALT cap. And add on to this the background of the fact that we aren't in session in Congress. We flew in for this vote that was cooked up by a few people somewhere, and now we all flew out. So Pelosi, in her actions and in the rule vote, which would have allowed us to stay out of session until July 21st, she is admitting that Congress is a non-essential business.
Do you think what you just said, that it really is a potpourri of trying to throw everything in, that they then can run on that against you guys in the fall?
Well, clearly that's what this is, and she seems to have admitted as much. This is a political stunt. At least 14 of my Democratic colleagues voted against it precisely for that reason. That's unfortunate because we are in the midst of a really unique and painful crisis, and I think the absolute last thing we should be doing right now, as people are losing their livelihoods, people are losing their lives, is to play politics with that crisis. Listen, we've come together to pass historic legislation over the last 2 months. Now is the time for us to reconvene Congress. Let's have a good faith, bipartisan discussion about what we've done well, where we haven't met the mark, and where we need to do more. I am more than willing to have that conversation. Please, please, Madam Speaker, let's put aside the politics.
You listed some of the issues here. Let's show the folks some of the other things in the bill. $500 billion in direct aid to state and local governments. You know, the states, some of the states are saying they don't have any more money. $200 billion for essential worker hazard pay. That would seem to be necessary. $75 billion for testing and tracing. You know, many experts say we can't get out of this unless there's a widespread involved testing program. And the second round of stimulus checks, you know, that you mentioned. Can some of this be picked apart, though? For example, can there be billions for a widespread testing program that can test and contact trace, which has been successful in other countries, but we have not done that on a federal national level yet?
Well, I think there's obvious areas where we can work together in agreement. I myself have been an aggressive proponent of testing. It's an area where we're going to have to do more going forward because, you know, intelligence is the best way we can fight this virus and win this war on the virus. And so, absolutely, I do think the Paycheck Protection Program is going to need some more funding going forward. But ultimately, what we've learned in the last 2 months is that there isn't a check big enough that the federal government can cut to cover the cost of staying shut down forever. And I think that's what has a lot of people in my district worried, throughout my state worried. It's this idea that we have to stay shut down until there's a cure. Of course not. We have to have a bottom-up process where different areas with different geographic and demographic needs can start to responsibly open up. But that means all of us as citizens are going to have to act responsibly too, wearing masks where we can, doing social distancing where we can. We're not going to rush back out to a Bucks game anytime soon, but I believe we can start to responsibly open up, and that's the best way to give people hope and get our economy moving again.
You know, you just hit it on the head, you know, wearing masks. I'm here in New York City, which has been the epicenter, and you don't go out without a mask, or you shouldn't. Yet that's become a political statement some places in the country. You've been in harm's way for this nation. You serve on the intelligence. What would you say to people who say, well, I don't want a mask. You know, I don't need one. It's not going to hit me.
Well, listen, I view it as a small price to pay. I got it. No one wants to wear a mask. It's uncomfortable. It's not part of our culture. It makes you very self-conscious. I feel it. I understand. But if that's the price we need to pay in order to reopen the economy, because there we're not just talking about a matter of being socially or physically uncomfortable. We're talking about a matter of losing your livelihood, your ability to put food on your family's table. If that's what we have to do to get moving again, I am more than willing to pay that price. I will be wearing a mask as much as necessary if it means we can start to responsibly reopen as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's something you haven't gotten used to it yet somehow, but you know, I completely understand what you say. Finally, before I let you go, you caused a lot of attention this week by really ragging on China and supporting Taiwan. And man, when you talk about coronavirus coming from China, that they allegedly hid it, lied about it, did not tell the world about it, and they say they're the victim. What should we do with Taiwan?
Well, we need to stand strongly behind Taiwan, which is not only an incredible ally that's donated 100,000 masks to my home state of Wisconsin and millions of masks around the world. It's not only weathered this crisis, I think, better than any other country around the world. It is a repudiation of the very existence of the Chinese Communist Party. And we know that the CCP has been trying to threaten Taiwan throughout this crisis, doing dangerous military exercises. And so, one, we should support Taiwan's observer status in the World Health Organization. My hope is the administration will also send someone very high-ranking, preferably the Secretary of State, to President Tsai's inauguration on May 20th. And we have to clear up, ultimately, this policy of strategic ambiguity, so we send a clear signal to China that should they try and take Taiwan by force, we will respond.
Congressman Mike Gallagher, thank you for your service to the nation. You can talk geopolitical, sophisticated policies and also give good home advice about wearing a mask. Congressman, good to see you.